All right, let's see if we're on. Okay, somebody let me know if we're on now. I think we're on, but sometimes when you're trying to get a message across, the powers that be, they throw roadblocks all around you. So we had a few roadblocks, but hopefully we're back in the game. So, all right, we were on mindfulness and how to have mindfulness. So you have to pay attention to what you're putting into your mind and what's coming into your mind from your own mind. So you have to pay attention. Your thoughts are very important because your thoughts are going to create something. They're either going to create even, they're going to create happy, sad, or even. This is what your thoughts will do. So if you keep that in mind, understanding and having full comprehension of what they're going to do. So as a thought comes in, you've had them many, many times in your life. So if you're thinking of something in the past, it's usually going to create suffering in the present moment. That's the way it works. Thinking about the past, going to create suffering right now. Even if it's something pleasant in the past, most of the time we're going to think, well, we don't have it right now. So you have to pay attention to what your thoughts are doing. So and I'm going to say this again, I said this last week, I said it the week before, I'm going to say it again. The only thing we really have is this present moment in time. That's it. Yesterday is already gone. 2 seconds ago is already gone. We don't know what the future holds. I mean, we don't know if we're going to be alive 2 seconds from now. We don't know. This is an unknown. So if we keep this in mind, then we can let go of all the other stuff, right? We can let go of what does not serve us, and we can stay in this present moment. How do we do that? We take a deep breath. We feel it going in through our nose, down into our lungs, clearing things that are inside of us, right? Now, we've already done these over here. We've already forgiven ourselves. We've already said we're sorry. We already did all these that we went over 2 weeks in a row. I go over them every week just as a reminder. Now we're over here. We're doing these things because it brings us to the mindfulness. If we're doing these, this is going to be automatic. It's going to bring us right here to the mindfulness, and we're going to be able to pay attention to what our thoughts are, what's going on inside our little monkey mind that we have. And then we're going to have clear and full comprehension of what these thoughts are creating. They're creating something. They always do. So what is it creating? So if we have this is going to keep us in the balance. If we have this, it's automatic. See, these things, if you do these, they just follow each other and they're automatic. So if you're having mindfulness, if you're knowing what's going on in your mind, and you're starting to have full and clear comprehension of how. Okay, it says we're not streaming, but maybe it is. Maybe it's just recording. It says we're live, and it's doing a countdown. So, okay. So anyway, if we have clear and full comprehension, then what happens? We know what our thoughts are creating. That's clear and full comprehension. You know, oh, this thought came in, it's going to create this. So I can either marinate that and keep it going and make it good for me, or I can cut it, delete it, and then bring something else in. How do you do that? Take a breath. Clear yourself. All right, then we're going to go into moral shame and moral dread. And I said last week, and it really is true, that moral shame and moral dread are very much needed in this world today. We're having all kinds of craziness going on everywhere. And the reason is people don't, and moral shame and moral dread are kind of, I don't really like that term because it's something more than that. So what it means is loving yourself and others enough not to do something to hurt anyone else. So that's moral shame. That's moral shame. That's basically what it is. Loving yourself and others enough not to do something that would hurt you or them. That's plain and simple, moral shame. That's what it is. Okay? If we don't do things to hurt others or ourselves, then all this other stuff would not be happening, right? And it's really, you don't want to hurt someone else. And it's not just because of what they might think of you, it's because of who you are inside. You've become mindful and you have an understanding of what these things do, not only to other people, but when you're doing something to someone else, it's doing something to you. And it is doing something to you, whether you know it or not. It's either creating happiness inside of you or it's creating harmfulness inside of you. One of the two. It's doing one of the two. So think about when you're doing something, are you doing something to help someone or hurt them? You know, and really give that some thought, because this is what moral shame is. Moral shame, and the word shame is really not a good word. It bothers me to say that a little bit because it's really, how you're feeling, like the way you want to treat someone else, the morals in that. And we've kind of lost them, not all of us, but there's a lot of people out there that have lost that have forgotten how to think about how they're making someone else feel with what they're saying or what they're doing. This is important. If we run around and we don't care how we're affecting other people, then the world is a little chaotic, which is what's happening right now in this world, right? That's what's happening. So if we know this, then we're going to be mindful and have comprehension of what we're saying and what we're doing. So this is our morals. So the moral dread part is you don't want to do it because you also don't want to get arrested, right? You don't want to go to jail. You don't want something to happen. It's the fear of the unknown happening to you, which, it could be jail, it could be anything, it could be a lot of things that are not good. So that's the dread part. So this is what creates the morals. This is what creates the thought process of, do I want to do something or not do something? So most of the time we have this in us, but we may not think about it all the time, but we do have it in us. We have this in us, and if we let ourselves think about it, oh, is that the right thing to do or not? And you can feel it inside yourself. It's not, there's really no question. You can feel it inside yourself, and when you're doing something that's not right. So that's what this is. So then we're going to go down here, and we're going to go to patience. So we have to have patience. Not only we have patience over here with ourselves, right? But we got to do that with other people too. So once we have this inside ourselves, then we have to start having it for others too, including ourselves. Being patient, being kind, right? Serenity. Patience will create serenity. These follow each other, see? All these things follow each other. If you look, see, mindfulness creates clear and full comprehension. Moral shame or doing the right thing not to hurt someone, well, you're not going to go to jail. So it follows that, right? Patience creates serenity. What's a serenity? Calm, peaceful. That's what serenity is, right? It's a calm, peaceful state of mind. So if you're patient, it's going to create. When you're not patient, when you're doing this and, oh, get out of my way, I'm in a hurry. That's not patience, see? And it creates the opposite of serenity. But when you're driving or when you're going to work or when you're, whatever you're doing, just like the internet went out on us. So we had to have patience. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not surprised this happened. We'll just deal with it. Let me see if I can get on my phone. So we just calmly, we had patience with it. And it creates serenity. It creates a peace. It creates a calm. These follow each other. If you do this, this happens. If you do these, then this happens. If you do these, it just follows each other. Okay? Then we have benevolence. What is benevolence? Benevolence is being the first to do a favor without wanting or thinking of anything in return. Okay? You don't think, you do something for somebody, you don't think about, oh, I'm going to get this back. No, you do it out of the kindness of your heart, right? So our parents do that for us when they give us life. They don't expect us to give back life. We couldn't give back life, right? So this is what benevolence is. It's being the first to do a favor like your parents, okay? Like your minister, if you have a minister or a monk or a preacher or whatever you want to call it, or your friend who does kind things for you all the time and doesn't expect you to do anything in return. This is benevolence, okay? Gratitude, the grateful person. This is you doing something for someone else in return. Like the person who gave you something nice, then you do something nice for them. See, this creates a beautiful world to live in, right? If we're doing these things, we're living in paradise. We can create this in our own world, and we're living in it. So if someone, and you don't have to wait for someone to be benevolent with you. You can be benevolent with someone else. But remember, don't expect anything in return. That's the key to this. You do it out of the goodness of your heart, out of kindness, out of love. Don't expect anything in return. But I can tell you, it may not come from that person, but somebody will come back and be grateful to you for something. It's automatic. It does it automatically. So if you follow these steps, then you're going to go into some great confidence. What is great confidence? That means you know that you're doing the right thing. It's not ego. Now we got to let go of the ego because the ego will wreak havoc on you. This is just knowledge that and wisdom that you know you're taking the steps to be a good person, right? To do the right thing. That's all this is. Great confidence. But what it does is it beams from you. It beams like a light from a lighthouse. That's what happens when you do these. Then all of a sudden you're shining. You're shining like this beam of light. And it's confidence that you have that you're doing all these things, and it's creating this beautiful life inside this beautiful world. So if we do all these things, right? Now, like I said, we start with this. Telling yourself, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the thoughts I've had that created suffering. I'm sorry for the things I've done that created suffering. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but throughout my life, I've done some things that created suffering in my life, right? I have. I mean, I can't say I was perfect. I'm not perfect. So there are times when I do things that create suffering. So what do? You ask yourself for forgiveness. And then you say, please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. This is important. It sounds silly. I know it sounds silly. I've taught this for a long time, and people laugh all the time. And they say, oh, that's stupid, that's silly. No, it sounds silly, but try it. Because the more you try it, the more you actually heal your heart that has been suffering for many, many years. And then you're going to do all these things. Give yourself some truth, loving kindness, patience. Got to have effort in it and balance. But these things automatically come after each other. It's not a lot of work. If you do the first 4 things, then you've already done these. If you do this, you've already done these. See? Because if you're telling yourself, I'm sorry, what have you done? You've spoken truth inside yourself. It's automatic. These things look like it's a lot of work. It's not a lot of work because you've already done it. If you do this, this happens. 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 Okay, so it's automatic. And then you come into mindfulness, which happens from this. It's automatic. These things are automatic. So what is all of this? All of this right here, it all equals love. If you look at all these things, every single one of them comes from loving yourself. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Like this sounds so simple. It is simple. It is simple. All of these things, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to say, I'm sorry. Right? You're not going to be mindful. All of this equals love inside of you. And what is love inside of you? It's emancipation of the mind by loving kindness. What does emancipation mean? It means setting yourself free. Setting your mind free. That's kind of crazy to think about, right? We've kept our mind squashed down all our life. This sets it free. If you do these things, you have freedom inside your own mind. You have peace, you have calm, you have non-suffering. These are the steps to create non-suffering. It is really very easy. It's not hard. They follow each other. They follow each other. So if you just start being kind to yourself, if you don't do anything else, start being kind to yourself. See, that's a step. Just take one step at a time. Don't overload yourself. I give you all this because I'm giving you an overview of what's going to happen inside of you. See? Because it automatically happens. I'm giving you an overview of what's going to happen inside your heart. See, I drew a big heart around here, right? I'm giving you an overview of what's going to happen inside your heart once you start the process. It's automatic. But sometimes what happens when we start feeling so good, we do things inside ourselves to start creating suffering again because that's our comfort zone. We've had that all our life. We're not used to not having suffering, so we don't know what to do with ourselves when we're just in this balance, in this even space. We start, something must be wrong because I don't feel right. Well, you don't feel right because you've been suffering all your life. Now you're not suffering, so you're going to start things. And I see it all the time. It happens almost every day. Somebody's calling me. I'm going, I don't feel right. Or, I'm thinking this or I'm thinking that. Right? Every day. I talk to somebody, sometimes it's Thailand. So it just depends. And I want to shout out to Thailand. Hey, Thailand. All the monks and the nuns and the Mitchies and the Ubastikas and hi to everybody. My friends in Germany, I want to say hi to too, and the Netherlands. So hi to everybody, and including everybody here. But this is a journey, but it's not a bad journey. It's a good journey. What happens when we start the journey is we find peace and happiness. Most of the time, our life. If you're watching this for a reason. If you're watching this, it's not because you have peace and happiness all the time. It's because you're trying to find it. So I'm giving you a step by step. And when you do this, all of these happen automatically. It does. It happens automatically. Don't make it hard for yourself. But when you start to feel good, things come. You have to pay attention. That's when you have to go back to your mindfulness. So you have to think about it. Okay, What is it? Why am I feeling this way? Because you will have days when you're like, something doesn't, I don't, something's off, right? But you don't know what it is. Okay, take a breath. Pay attention to what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? Don't say, I don't know. When you say, I don't know, you're giving your power away. You have to think about, okay, what is it that I am creating in my mind to make me suffer? You have to think about it. Don't give your power to some unknown. When you say, I don't know what I'm thinking, you're saying, okay, something else is controlling my mind. No, it's not. You can bring it back. You can recognize what it is. It takes practice. And it takes this. You got to clear. You got to keep clearing, because every day something's going to come in. Something's going to come in and it's going to start, doing something. So you got to continually do this. I do it every day. It's like a mantra running in the back of my head. I have a lot of mantras that run in my head all the time, because I'm doing clearing and I'm helping other people. So as I'm doing their clearing, I got to clear myself too. I do what I tell you. What I tell you to do, I'm doing myself. This is not, and so people ask me, how long do I have to do this? Well, all the rest of your life. But what happens is, like, the suffering has just become second nature and you don't even think about it. Sometimes you don't even know what you're thinking. This will become second nature if you do it, because then you'll start practicing this instead of practicing the suffering. See, right now you practice suffering. That's a practice that you do every day. Whether you know it or not, that's what it is. You're practicing at not being happy, at not having peace. You practice that because you worry about different things. You worry about tomorrow, or you worry about yesterday, or this is practicing suffering. Now you're going to practice being in this present moment, right now, this moment. And so you have to, like, clear yourself. You have to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, inside yourself, and mean it. Mean it. Show yourself how love is. So if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else? It's an impossible thing. You don't know how. Even though you think you do, you don't. It doesn't work like that. You can't love other people if you don't love yourself. And that's how we have a lot of conflict with everything. You might be in conflict with your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your husband or your wife. It's because you're in conflict inside yourself. That's what happens. We're in conflict inside ourselves, and so then we generate it out. So if someone is upsetting you, if you're angry with someone, or look inside yourself. That's a hard one, because we want to blame other people. But if we blame other people, then we're giving our power to them. So I'm going to teach you how to be powerful inside yourself. But you have to speak truth inside yourself. You cannot blame someone else for the way you are feeling. They're not inside you. They're outside of you. What's inside of you is you. So if someone is making you feel a certain way, I'm quoting, making you feel a certain way, then you have to look inside yourself and go, why is that? Why would that make me feel like that? What is it inside of me that is generating out to them? Be honest with yourself. Because when people speak to you, those are just words. They don't mean anything, really. They don't mean anything unless you make them mean something. When we're little kids and we're first born, we don't know what the names of things are. They don't mean anything. Somebody says that's a dog. When you're a baby, you don't know that's a dog. You have no clue what it is. So, it doesn't mean anything. They say dog, they might be looking at a plate, the baby, because they don't know what a dog is. We are trained. So now you got to untrain yourself. So if someone is making you mad, quote unquote, what is it inside you that is in them? Look at it, because it's going to be the same. And if we recognize these things, then we can let them go. We can have the love and kindness inside ourselves. We can forgive ourselves. You know, I've had to do a lot of forgiveness inside myself. There are many things that I did growing up and as a young adult that I'm not proud of. But it brought me here. It taught me. And that's what these things do. They teach us if we pay attention. If we're not paying attention, if we're not mindful, see, mindfulness is paying attention. So when I was in Thailand, we had to do meditation, and we did meditation for 12 hours a day. And so you could do sitting, you could do walking, or you could do standing. And you did it in cycles, and you did so many of this, so many minutes of this, so many minutes of that. But what it did was it made you pay attention to this present moment. So when we walked, we would think and we would look and we would, okay, we're picking up our right foot, we're bringing it forward, we're placing it down. We would actually speak the words out loud of what we were doing as we were doing it. Lifting, moving, placing. We would do that. What did that do? It created mindfulness inside of us. We were paying attention to what we were doing instead of the chatter that goes on in our mind. You can only have one thought at a time. So if your mind is off running, bring it here. Take control of your mind. Recognize the thought and then let it go and say, okay, that's not going to serve me. So let me bring myself back here. Let me take a breath, notice my breath, notice where it's going inside of me. If you got to get up and walk, think about what you're doing. Lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing. It takes your mind from the chatter into this present moment. It also creates balance inside of you. Literally and figuratively, like your body becomes balanced because you're paying attention and you're moving and you're knowing exactly where your foot is, and you're picking your other foot up and you're moving it and you're knowing where it is. How many times do you walk and not even pay attention to where you're going? Right? This is not mindful. We have to pay attention. When we start doing this, it creates it inside of us. And then your mind is not wandering and chattering all the time because you are paying attention to what's going on and what's happening. And then it's full comprehension. You know, oh, you can see things that you didn't see before. Not that they weren't there before, you just didn't see them because you weren't paying attention. How many times have you gone into a place and said, has that always been there? I didn't see that. Right? That's because you weren't mindful last time you walked in there. But this time when you walked in, you were mindful. You were paying attention. You were like, that's been there for that long? Really? Yeah. Because so many times we're not in our heart. We're not paying attention with our heart. We're letting this chatter, 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 chatter. And it wreaks havoc on us all the time. So in order to have peace, you have to pay attention. You have mindfulness, but it starts here. See, this follows this, follows this, follows this, follows this. And it all emancipates your mind. It all releases your mind and frees your mind from any kind of hold of anything. You're free because then you're free to do and act like in loving kindness really is what happens. You just, if you're doing all this, it's automatic. Then you don't have fights and you don't have arguments and you don't have people killing each other and, you don't have that because all of this equals love. That's what it equals. When you do this, it comes out, it equals love. Like if it were a math equation, you get down and it would be love. That's what it would be. So this is your homework, see? But really your homework is this right here. That's your homework. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's your homework. So, but you have to know inside what you're talking about. You have to know what you're talking about inside yourself, because you're about to do some work on yourself. Right? You're about to forgive yourself for all it's like when you have a friend and they've done something to you, right? And you've been angry with them for years. And they come to you and they say to you, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm really sorry. Can you ever forgive me? You are that friend to yourself. This is you. I had a friend that did that, and I didn't remember even what had happened. I didn't remember it. It was a dear friend of mine, and I always thought very highly of her. And it happened over 20 years ago, probably closer to 30. Actually, it was 30 years ago. But I saw her a couple years ago, and she said, I'm so glad you came. She said, because I've been wanting to talk to you about something. And I said, okay, what is it? And she said, and years ago, I went to live with this family because I was one of those children who ran away from home and had a lot of chaos inside of me. So I went to live with them in Utah, and they were beautiful people. And she said, I smacked you. And I said, what? She goes, yeah, and I'm sorry for that. I should have never done it. And I said, well, you can let that go right now because I don't remember you ever touching me. See, what I remembered, and this is a good example because a lot of times we think things in our mind that are not truths inside ourselves. What I remembered is her taking children in, her loving children, even children that weren't her own, being kind to them and loving and caring for them for years. I mean, more than a lifetime, really. It's amazing what she did. But she carried this with her for 30 years because she felt like she had done something to harm me. But in reality, it was something inside of her that was making her feel like that because I didn't remember it. I remembered only good things about her. So a lot of times the things that we think someone else is thinking isn't actually what's being done at all. Most of the time, that's the case. So if you do this with yourself, you realize the truth. And the truth is, I said something smart to her. That's the truth. The truth is I was, 13, 14, 15 years old, and I was smart. I had a smart mouth, and I said something smart to her, and she smacked me. Well, don't say something smart, right? So that's the truth. So if you tell yourself the truth and you start forgiving yourself, you create the loving kindness. And we definitely had some loving kindness when she said she was sorry to me. That was beautiful in the sense that I could feel the love that she had for me. Right? So this is what you're doing inside yourself. I'm using this as an example so that you can see what you're doing inside yourself. You're doing this to yourself. Like we have spent a lifetime thinking things about ourselves that is not true. Okay? Just like she spent 30 years thinking that I was upset about something that I didn't even remember. This is us inside ourselves. We think things about ourselves that are not truth. We tell ourselves things that are not true about ourselves. And then we go into all this suffering needlessly. So if we I'm sorry for all that, right? I'm sorry for not telling you the truth about yourself all these years. Please forgive me. Thank you. You're thanking them. I told her, I said, thank you for that. Even though I didn't remember, I said, thank you, because it showed me how much she loved me, right? And I love you. And I told her that too, and she told me, because we do love each other, right? So you should love yourself like this. This is how you should love yourself. You should love yourself like that. And if you do, you're telling yourself truths. You're being loving and kind to yourself. You're having patience with yourself. You're giving effort to yourself, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be doing all this. And that creates your balance. Don't get afraid when you have balance and peace inside. That's the way it should be. Embrace it. Let yourself sit in quiet. It's okay. Things don't have to be running all the time. You don't have to have the TV on. You don't have to have the radio on. Enjoy peace. Enjoy the quiet for a minute or two or 3 or 10 or 30. Go outside. Sit under a tree. Sit by a lake. Put your feet in the grass. Create your peace inside. Create your calm inside. Create your world inside yourself. And then your mind will be free, and it's freed by loving kindness. And all this stuff will happen automatically, because you're going to start noticing that you're feeling different about yourself. But what happens, it's like a magical thing when you give yourself love. Because what happens is, not only do you feel love for yourself, but then other people start showing you love because you're loving yourself. And you're generating that out, and it's like this big cloud of love that falls over everybody. And then they say to you, what are you doing? What are you doing? You look so peaceful. You look so calm. You look younger. They say these things. Why? Because it's true. So these are the things that you need to do for yourself, right? So this video has been a little cut, like we got cut off earlier, but we actually got through pretty much all that I wanted to teach you tonight. Every week I'm going to add a little bit of something. We'll go quickly over the things that we have done before, and then I'm going to add a little something. Like this week, I just glazed on great confidence, right? We went over this, and then I added great confidence. So next week, I'm going to add another one. Each week, I'll add another one, because we're on a journey now. We're on this beautiful journey of peace inside ourselves. And I'm going to show you how to keep it going. I'm going to show you how to see things as they are inside yourself. Doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. This is you. This is your journey. And it's a beautiful one if you let it be. So hopefully I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. I will be doing meditation class tomorrow night at the same time, 7 o'clock. Not sure if I'm going to go online or not. It's undetermined right now. But anyway, have a great evening, and I will see you either tomorrow or next week.